The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Today's guest, look, I've got an ex-trader with me today who's moved into the realms of Bitcoin mining. Now, it's been a while since we've talked about the mining operations that are out there and what's actually going on. And I know it's topical right now. So it is with my absolute pleasure to introduce Amir Ness, the CEO of Elevate Group. Thank you so much for your time today, mate.
Thank you, Trader Cobb. Good to be here.
Yeah, mate, look, you've got a fascinating bio. Okay, let's kick this off with a bit of background before we go diving deep into the operation that is Elevate. And
Sure.
I mean, you've been on Wall Street, right? You worked at Merrill Lynch. What was your role at Merrill Lynch? What were you doing? Give us the spiel.
Yeah. I was a financial advisor basically, and the way they have it set up at firms like Merrill Lynch. Everyone's a little different, but the way they have it set up is, they basically invest people's money into funds, into managed funds. So if you're an investment advisor, it's kind of a tricky definition because you're really not kind of doing much other than raising money. That's your real role, is to go out there and bring capital in. And I didn't like that because I always wanted to be involved in the market. I was always looking for stocks, looking for companies, small and founded companies, this and that. So I realized it's not really the investment advisory that I want. I want to be involved in managing the actual money. And then I went one step further and realized that, I didn't necessarily want to manage money for other people. I wanted to trade. I wanted to actually be making the trades. So that kind of just transitioned into becoming a prop trader. So there was actually at that time a company that was based in New York with an office in Los Angeles, which is where I was at, and so I became a prop trader and started managing my own money and trading, and I loved it, but it wore me down. It wore me down a lot. But I did learn. I did learn the ins and outs of Wall Street, the markets, mainly the banking system, because I was heavily involved in gold and things like that, and gold stocks. And then that just kind of like, I spent 10, 15 years doing that. And after kind of going through the whole markets and everything, when I learned about the blockchain and Bitcoin, it was just, I was like 5 days of no sleep and just reading and learning. And I couldn't believe what was happening. And then I got it. So I understood. I calmed down a little bit, and then I said, "Okay, well, how am I gonna play this? Like, what's my angle gonna be? Because there's so many angles. As you know, you're a trader. You could get into the media side. Anyway, long story short, I said I want the most conservative, stable, passive type of investment in this area. Yeah. So, that kind of led me to Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining, even though we're in a bear market just like everybody else is, Bitcoin mining is, relatively speaking, stable. It's consistent, and it's passive income. And it's a function that the blockchain, that the Bitcoin network has to have. So despite all the ups and downs, it is a pretty good area of the industry to be in.
Well, you just answered my second question, which was why mining. So well done with that. Tick that one off. And just to come back on your prop trading desk stage, I mean, I get this question all the time. People say, look, why aren't you trading for a fund? Why aren't you on a prop desk? It's like, look, I was invited to do both. I had a little fund in London that I set up, and when I was 23, and you said it, it burns you out. Not only does it burn you out for when you're in there, the people around you burn you out. The lifestyle burns you out. The arseholes burn you out. There's a lot of things that burn you out. It's not just the trading side of it. It's a whole ecosystem, and it can get a little bit festy. So I totally understand that. That's why I've always traded for myself, because it's a bit of a full-on sport. So from that into blockchain, The 5 days down the rabbit hole, we've all done it. We've all gone through that. And look, I still keep on finding little bits and pieces that still I'm spellbound by. A lot of it, I'm like, whoa, that's way outside of my brain capacity. Mining is one of these things where I think that most people can actually get their head around, because it's once you understand Bitcoin and blockchain, you understand that the mining network is essentially what keeps this thing afloat. It's the verification process. So before you started Elevate Group, had you already started mining yourself, and was that what you started individually, and then you moved into the bigger picture?
Yeah. So what I did was actually the first project I was involved with was with a project called Ice Rock Mining. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they had a mining farm in Kazakhstan in a cave. And I was like, whoa, what a sexy story. So I called, I got in touch with them. I sent them an email. They had done their first round of an ICO, and it was really, really small. And so then what happened was I met these guys. I went out there. They really needed I would say a mouthpiece. They needed a marketing person that could kind of speak and talk about what they're doing and articulate their message, everything, right? They needed the front kind of piece of their business. And I was just starting, so I said, you know what, why don't I do your marketing and I'll speak at events for you and all that kind of stuff. So I got involved with them, and the first month was really great. It worked. They needed it. I was kind of involved with a cool project, but then something happened. And that was the boom time of the market, right? Everybody was throwing money into ICOs. And what happened was, the kind of advertising style of like, oh, you're going to make 300% on your money, or, like lifetime profits, and just these kind of taglines that I would see on the website. And I was like, whoa, I'm not about that. Like, that's actually not what's going on. And I found myself involved in this project that was kind of morphing into something that I wasn't so sure I was going to be proud of. Anyway, long story short, I knew that I wanted to have a long stay in this industry, and I knew it was gonna be around. So I resigned. I ended up just saying, kind of cutting my losses, so to speak. I just didn't want to be involved in that. I resigned and I did a whole thing with Crypto Rich, an interview about why I did that. Anyway, long story short, I said to myself, okay, I got to get involved in my own mining project, because I wanted to control, how the marketing was done, what we say, what we don't say, and how it's handled. So I got what ended up happening is a good friend of mine, his family, his wife's family owns a former steel mill in Siberia, right? Yeah. Now Siberia,
a mate like that, right?
Right. Now what it is in Irkutsk, Siberia, it's a heavy industrial city. I mean, you've got like companies like Rosneft and oil refineries and all. So they have a lot of power that's already there, right? So these guys had already 10 megawatts ready. And then they had the infrastructure where the power supplier, the power utility, was able to give them another 90 megawatts, which is, we're talking about running 75,000 ASIC miners. It's way more than you need. But they had everything in place. And they were mining actually for themselves. It was like their own private. And I said, well, why don't we kind of create a platform and put something out there for people? And really what Elevate Group is about, we call it MaaS, mining as a service. What it's about is, look, you want to be a commercial mining farm. If you're going to get into the mining business, you don't want to be mining. You don't want to be buying mining contracts, these cloud contracts. It's complete bullshit. It's like the whole concept of a contract is really, people need to stop and think for a second. If I'm the miner, let's say you invest money. So you give me your money Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to buy mining equipment with that money. That's what I have to do in order to provide you with a mining contract. Now, if I'm providing you with a mining contract, there's two facts. One is, in order for me to maximize my income, I have to sell that mining contract for as much as I can. The more I sell it for, the more I'm maximizing my income. Now, in order for you as the investor to maximize your income, you have to buy this mining contract for as little as you can. So what ends up happening is this contract becomes a device that has an inverse relationship between the two parties, right? So if it's better for one person, it's worse for the other. Now, what ends up happening is they go out and buy mining equipment, and they figure out how to juice as much of that power, so to speak, the hash power, for the mining company, and then give what they can to the investor. And this is how you end up, you end up with situations like Genesis Mining, where they sold a lot of contracts, and then all of a sudden they either canceled them or they just don't pay out, because by the time you pay the maintenance fee and you do all this other stuff, there's no money in it for you. Yeah. So coming from kind of a stock market / equity market background, what I realized is that's all bullshit. The way this could really work is you pass on the platform. So in other words, we've got like 5 cents per kilowatt hour for power. That's very low. Yep. We've got an engineering team. We've got security. We've got the hosting facility. So we provide that as a platform. And then all we do is, when the investor invests, they actually own the miner. So we buy the miner for them. We place it. We get it online. They have their own dashboard. We use Awesome Miners, so they have their own direct access to the miner. And then what we do is we just charge a 20% management fee, because we want the income of the miner, of the investor, to grow.
You're in line.
And that's how we do it. So we participate in the growth. So in a bear market right now, where it's, profits are really, really low, we're also making really, really low. And then when the market ratchets up and we start getting kind of bullish, then our income will also increase. But it's always kind of consistent with our investors. We're always on their side.
Your objectives are aligned. And I think that's probably the best. Exactly. There's nobody trying to stiff somebody else for a better deal, like you say. It's, and not that trying to do a good deal on one side to the other stiffing anybody, not at all. But this way, what you've actually set up is you create, as I say, an alignment. Your business partners to a certain extent, and of course, 20% of profits above and beyond go to Elevate, which is actually probably paying more than 20% on the uptick based on the energy, based on the optimization as well, right?
Yeah, well, actually, you said it. I mean, if you were to go to a pure data center right now and send them your miners and they charge you a hosting fee, number one, they don't really handle maintenance. So if like something happens, a chip goes faulty or something like that, we'll repair that. Bitmain is also located. They have a repair center in Irkutsk now too. So it's like we're right there if we need to get something fixed. What ends up happening, the data centers charge a flat fee. They'll say like $10 per miner or $7 or $8 per miner. Well, right now that takes a lot of the profit away. So it's like 50% of the profit, 60% of the profit. Yeah. Whereas we're making like maybe $1 or $2 per miner max right now. But we understand that that's like, look, that's part of our business model. In a bear market, we're just, that's what it is. It's our customers aren't making a lot of money, and we're not making a lot of money.
So how did you raise? I mean, look, I've looked through your website a little bit. You did not do an ICO, okay? Do you want to take us through the reasoning behind why you didn't do an ICO briefly and the way you've done it?
Yeah, so I mean, an ICO, right? You have to deal with this question of, are you a security token? And then if you're a security token, you have all these other kind of requirements, right? Now, first things first, mining is like it's just a crazy simple business, right? I mean, all we're doing is validating transactions on the Bitcoin network and getting paid in Bitcoin for doing that. And so how does that work for us? That just means we have to put miners online, these processors. No, an ICO is a good mechanism to raise money, but creating a token and going through that whole process, we don't need that. What we need to do is mine and then give that money to our investors. Now, if we create a token, we're creating another layer of kind of operation, so to speak, and we're redistributing portions of the profit. If we do it that way, then we are a security. And then we have to go through all the SEC stuff, and we have to, all of this costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line was, I said, look, if we have to go through all that and pay for that, who's going to ultimately pay for that? The investors are. And that's the problem you get with mining and with mining ICOs. Let's say the mining ICO raised $10 million. Right, but $2.5 million of it went to administrative, legal, the technical side of setting up tokens, the website, all of it. Well, 25% of your money just now went into something that didn't buy you terahash.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So exponentially, you've got a harder task to get that money back because $2.5 million of your mining power is gone before you bought a freaking miner.
Exactly, which is part of the reason why a lot of mining ICOs have failed is, they've got money, but that money didn't go into the
operation,
into the business that's going to generate returns for the investor.
No revenue generating part, yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, everybody was so caught up in the craze that they weren't seeing this. They thought they were going to make 300% in 6 months.
Logic went out the door.
Yeah, and that was just about the time that I was brainstorming for what Elevate Group should look like, and I was going in a completely different direction, and I was saying, no, we're not, there is no ICO. All we're doing is mining. So if an investor wants to mine, what we are is essentially their data center, we're their infrastructure center, their server center, whatever you want to call it. And it's worked because, now when an investor comes in, they buy their miner through us. We put it online. They have a dashboard. And that's what we're doing. We're a glorified data center is basically what we are.
And look, I had a look, if here's a couple of questions that I think are very, very valid. Let's say I come in and I buy 10 mining units. I'm somebody who goes, look, I've got this and this and this in the space. My next investment is into the mining. Then I've got the full stack of products for an investor to do. I invest myself. I trade. I have businesses in the space, and now I have my mining element. Now, and when I buy a miner from you, am I buying that at your wholesale rate direct from Bitmain at your negotiated better price? You then plug it in, do maintenance, and you just want to encourage more people to use your facility because therefore you get 20% off the top? Or is there a margin in the middle as well to help your costings?
No, there's a margin.
There is a margin?
There's a margin. There's a margin for sure because with our model, there's no way we can get by without having some profit in the sale.
In the front end.
Now, what I can tell you is when mining difficulty rate, plummeted, a lot of miners went out of business, right? They mining farms that had like 7 or 8 cents per kilowatt hour, they went out of business. So what we did is there was all of a sudden a secondary market for mining equipment. We could buy miners for really cheap.
Yeah.
Right? Pre-owned miners. So what we did is we went out to our investor base and we said, hey, I know you just bought these new miners. Your cost per terahash is whatever, $50. We can go out into the secondary market, buy a bunch of pre-owned miners that we will maintain and do maintenance for you, but we can do it at $25 per terahash. So what we did is we were able to lower the cost per terahash for our investors. So your question, though, to answer it, we do make a profit. However, the ultimate question is, what is your cost per terahash?
Yeah.
Right? When
It's an
you
investment,
buy,
right?
yeah, that's it. All it is your cost per terahash. So if you go like to cloud mining companies right now, you'll get a cost per terahash of anywhere from, let's say, $50 to $80, right? We're well below that. Let's say by at least 20-25% below that, and we don't have a maintenance fee.
Perfect.
So comparing apples to apples, I would say if you look at cost per terahash, we're probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest. And also, one kind of other interjection, we actually mine, we're the infrastructure for other mining farms. We have other mining farms
Within your
that used
facility.
to have,
Yeah.
yeah, they used to be in the Ukraine, or they used to be in France. These are both real examples, but they were paying too much for electricity. They had people that they had to pay for. They had a facility that they had to pay for rent. So we were able to come in and say, look, it's 5 cents per kilowatt hour. We won't charge you anything, no rent, no hosting. We'll maintain. You have our engineers. And all of a sudden, 300-400 ASIC miners get moved from there to us. And these guys now don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of business that we really want to go after.
That's the scalability, right? It's the best way to scale.
Yeah.
So, look, everyone's going to want to know this, right? So, two things. One, for those of you who are at home listening, watching this, understand that it's cost per terahash. You need to understand, research that if you're getting into this business. Of course, we're going to find out, I'll tell you in a minute where you can find out more about Elevate Group, of course, with Amir here. But what's your break-even price per Bitcoin?
So we're okay. Let me tell you something about break even, first of all. Nobody can ever predict into the future what their break even price is. A lot of mining people say our break even is 2,600.
But things change, right? At that moment in time.
See, what ends up happening is nobody knows what the difficulty rate will be.
Yeah.
So if price is at 2,600, but difficulty went up, then that person who said that that has no idea what they're talking about. It won't be that. So nobody knows what it is. What I can say is this: today, at price of 3,500, we are profitable, which basically means that depending on what difficulty will do, we're pretty close to like the line.
Yeah.
So I know that my cost to generate Bitcoin is less than what Bitcoin is selling for right now. Okay, so that's a good thing. You remain in the black, which is really, really important. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's about surviving long term, because long term, I don't think anybody in the space has too many issues with what's going to happen. This is a new emerging technology, a new emerging market, Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain, and I can't see it going anywhere. I'm very fortunate I get to speak to a lot of different people in different areas of the ecosystem, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So hopefully we continue to hold above 3,500 for a while longer and see some bulls come back. But Amir, look, everyone wants to know, mate. Tell us where they can find out more about Elevate Group and what they can do. Yeah, so the best is first to go onto our site. So it's elevategroup.io. And we're actually revamping our site this week. So over the next 4 or 5 days, they might see changes onto the site.
Not a scam, it's just an update.
yeah, no scams, just updates, exactly. We're actually really transparent with everything, by the way. I mean, we actually give people access to their own miners, so they see the terahash, they see it running, they even see the temperature, and they have the serial number of the miner. But anyway, so elevategroup.io. Once you're on there, you'll also have links to our Telegram group. And that's where everybody's active. I mean, we have people, we have investors in our Telegram group who bought 1 or 2 miners, and we have others who have like 50 or 60 in there, and they're all very helpful. And at this point, it's become a community. So really, you don't need me to ask the question. You can just go in there and just ask the question, and somebody else who's already doing it is going to tell you what their experience is. So this is really more about people doing their homework, understanding what mining is, And then we're just here to say, look, did you decide if you want to mine? Because if you do want to mine, here's our cost basis. We're probably one of the best platforms you can mine with. And that's it. Then they decide whether they want, to mine or not to mine.
Pretty straightforward then, isn't it?
What's that?
Pretty straightforward and easy to follow.
It's straightforward. Mining is a simple business. Anybody tries to kind of talk sophisticated about mining is just trying to confuse it. It's really simple. Power, maintenance, cooling, ventilation, and stay online and make sure you're running as much terahash as efficiently as you can. That's what we do. Well,
mate, it's been brilliant having a chat with you. Thank you for an in-depth understanding of Elevate Group and what you guys are doing. It's really exciting. It sounds like you're in the right place at the right time. You've got friends in the right places with massive facilities in Siberia, like all of us do. So congratulations for capitalizing on that and hanging out in the right circles. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Amir Ness, the CEO of Elevate Group, elevategroup.io. So thank you so much for your time, mate.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And you take care of yourselves. I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye for now.
Cheers. All right, good.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.